Good morning, and welcome to the first Social Inclusion Forum on behalf of Inclusion Solutions. As an organisation, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the local Whadjuk people. We wish to acknowledge and respect their elders and their continuing culture, their elders past, present and future. I'd like to start by acknowledging some special guests in the room today. The Honourable Michael Murray, Minister for Seniors and Ageing, Volunteering and Sport and Recreation. WA Paralympian Sean Pollard travelled all the way up from Bunbury. Thank you for being here today. The CEO of the Western Australian Cricket Association, Christina Matthews, and representatives from the National Disability Services, Jane Cousins and Kelly Cade. My name is Denver De Cruz, and I'm the General Manager of Inclusion Solutions. I'm both privileged and honoured to be your MC today. It's the inaugural Social Inclusion Forum, and having worked in this space for many years, I'm consistently blown away by the amount of good people that we have in the industry. Simon Sinek, the British and American author, said, if we feel an ongoing passion for our work, if we want to feel that we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves, we all need to know our why. Today you'll hear from a number of significant contributors to the WA community, and collectively they'll help us understand the importance of social inclusion. So I've got a few housekeeping duties that I'm tasked with delivering to you today. Firstly, I'd like to ask you to turn off your mobile phones or place them on silent. Secondly, the restrooms are on the right-hand side, just outside the door in the corridor. And thirdly, in the event of an emergency, please exit the building across the car park and follow the signs to the meeting place across the way. I'd like to take this time to acknowledge NDS and in particular the Community Living and Participation Grant Scheme. It's always great to work with an organisation such as NDS, and thank you to Jane and Kelly for the opportunity to partner with you on the forum today. To provide you with a brief overview of today's forum, we'll kick off proceedings with a small presentation from Christy and Kira from Inclusion Solutions to warm the palate and set the scene for the presenters of today. Minister Murray will address the audience, followed by presentations from Kiri Penter from Roleystone Gymnastics and Rob Thompson from the WA Sports Federation. Following that, we'll break for 15 minutes, and that'll help you have a bit of a coffee and get through some networking as well. On our return, we'll have two presentations from Roy McNamara-Smith and Heather Timms, followed by a question and answer session from Heather with Kyron Timms as well. At 12 p.m, for those of you that need to leave us, we'll make sure that you're aware of the time and you're welcome to go. However, our guest presenters have all agreed to join us on stage along with Paul Flay, CEO of Australian Inclusion Group, for a question and answer session. A couple of things today in terms of videography and photography. We've got Emma and Angelo in the room. Angelo doing the videography and Emma doing some photos as well. I'd kindly ask if you guys, if you can, there's a social inclusion sign that Emma will be walking around with. If you're happy to take a photo with that and share it on your social media and tag us in, that would be great. Inclusion Solutions WA is the tagline, is the organisation, and hashtag Social Inclusion Matters is the tagline that we'd appreciate if you could use. So without further ado, I'd like to start proceedings by introducing our Senior Inclusion Consultant, Kira Cooney, and Inclusion Consultant and Event Extraordinaire, Christy Jolly, to the stage to get us started.
We need your help to fight a problem facing people all over the world: social isolation. More than half of Australians have experienced or are experiencing loneliness, and that's around 1.25 million West Australians. The people in this room can make a difference. You have the ability to be a part of a social movement, to change the lives of people experiencing social isolation in your communities. This morning, you'll have the opportunity to listen to 5 community leaders who are making positive change in their communities using the vehicles of sport and recreation.
Thanks, Christy. My name is Kiri and this is my colleague Christy Jolly. And today we are excited to share the room with like-minded people who share our passion for social inclusion. Christy and I have a combined professional experience of 20 years in the sector, in the industries of local government, state sporting associations, and not-for-profit. We have both participated in sport our whole lives and see the immense value in sport and recreation. We have seen how the power of sport can positively impact individuals' lives, including our own. And we strongly believe that all people should have the choice to participate in mainstream sport and recreation. Our experiences, both professionally and personally, have given us the knowledge and skills to work with many facets of the community.
So a little bit about Inclusion Solutions. Inclusion Solutions has evolved from the work of our sister organisation Inclusion WA and their proud 30-year history of working alongside individuals with a disability. Whilst both of our organisations continue to share a vision to promote inclusion across WA, Inclusion Solutions has set a broader challenge of inclusion. People with disabilities will remain as a focus area for our organisation, but when we talk about inclusion, we're talking about all people, and we'd like to see all people have the opportunity to be a part of their communities. We work to facilitate, educate, and work alongside local governments, sporting clubs, community groups, state sporting associations, and businesses to achieve inclusive outcomes. We achieve this by providing personalised training and mentoring services. As an organisation, it is our belief that all people should have the opportunity to live a rewarding life, to participate in a welcoming community. We want everyone to feel welcome, have choice and control, share ordinary places, and feel a sense of belonging within their community.
Thanks, Christy. I'd like to set the scene today of the forum and talk about some of the theories that underpin our organisation that we greatly believe in. So as you'll see, this gentleman up here, Mr. John O'Brien, he's a world-renowned advocate for people living with a disability. And he believes that these dimensions are critical to ensure that people can have the opportunity to be included in their community. I'll start off at the top, so sharing an ordinary place. Being an active community contributor, not just a community tourist, sharing a place with regular people to do regular things where personal relationships are shared. Choice and control. Who we become depends on big decisions we make, but also the small and seemingly insignificant decisions. Choices are based on life experience and opportunities to experience the dignity of risk. Contributing. The ability and freedom to give ourselves, whether the contributing of money, time, and support of our personal and unique gifts. Being someone. Having qualities that relate to being an individual and having individuality, and of being considered to be someone that matters to others. Last but not least, belonging. This is my favourite one. Feeling accepted and valued by and with people who we choose to be with, and who would also choose to be with us. It's not about learning to cope with being put with others who are seen to be like us. And I'd like to give an example of a gentleman called Eddie. And Eddie is a valued community member at the Bayswater Cricket Club. Eddie shares an ordinary place. He is connected to that community with his knowledge of cricket and his knowledge of sport and scoring, not because he has an intellectual disability. Eddie is a life member of that club. Over 40 years he has been part of that club, and he is a true member of the club and is valued. He has a sense of belonging. He shares the ordinary place. He contributes. I know for sure that he really helped in a semi-final match when he got the score right and someone else didn't have it so right. There was a good question on that. And Eddie was the man who had those skill sets to help with the game. Moving on to the pyramid, I really like this one. So on the bottom, you'll see physical accessibility. And when we talk about inclusion, I like to speak to clubs and groups, state sporting associations, local governments, and say, Can everyone access your building? Can everyone access your sports centre, your football club, your grounds? So first step is sharing the ordinary place. If you cannot share the space, you cannot be included. So most important. The next one, functional opportunity. Do people have the choice to be able to participate and in a volunteering capacity or in a participating way? Can they be part of the club or group? Usually inclusion stops here. We like to focus on the top tier, social inclusion. Do people have the opportunity to belong? Do people have the opportunity to contribute? And do they really feel valued as an individual in that club? And these are the questions we like to work alongside clubs and groups to really question it. Michael Kendricks has a great quote. My eyesight isn't so great, so I'm going to have to lift this up. Social inclusion is not simply the promotion of the increased presence of marginalised persons in society, but rather that such people return to or begin to occupy valued social roles within society and community life. And today we're here to talk about the importance of having a valued role in our community. And the 5 leaders we'll hear today will talk exactly of that, the importance of having a valued role and how the power of sport and recreation can positively impact an individual's life, but also the wider community. So let's talk about inclusion. This is why we're really here. As you'll see up on the screen, there's 3 slides: exclusion, segregation, and integration. So exclusion, no opportunity to belong. I'd like to share a story about myself. As you can probably tell with my Irish accent, I'm not from here. 6 years ago, I landed in Perth and I want to get connected to a local club. I called a club up and said, can I please get involved in your club? I have no knowledge on this sport, but I want to be around people who are like-minded and the opportunity to connect with other community members. The response I got was, no, we don't want any more foreigners. So I had no opportunity to get connected. I had no opportunity to be included. Why I tell this story is, everyone has barriers in their life, but when we talk about people from marginalised backgrounds, people who may be living with a disability, a mental health illness, anyone who is isolated, they are further isolated. People, when we talk about stats and reports, being socially excluded is just as bad as smoking a packet of cigarettes a day. So when we think about that for our health, being socially isolated really isn't a good thing. So exclusion, no opportunity to engage in sport or recreation. There's no opportunity to get connected. Segregation. This is where I'd like to just explain. The big circle is the mainstream community and the small circle is the segregated community. So people who are grouped together based on their limitations and not on their shared interest. That's the smaller circle. So there's absolute merit in segregated sport, but to a limited degree. People can participate, and there's absolute merit to participating in sport, and they will receive health benefits, but they can only socially connect with the people in that group. They cannot connect with the wider community. Integration. We'll hear some stories later on about integrated sports. Integration is a model based on skill, where people start off on one level, and as they increase their skill and ability, there is a pathway for them to move into the mainstream sport or recreation. I believe this is a really great model, and it's one step towards inclusion. An example of this is an integrated football league. So they'll train on the same nights, they'll wear the same uniforms, they'll attend the same social events. They are truly members of that club. They're truly valued, and they have the opportunity to make friendships and a sense of belonging with the wider club. Then on to inclusion. End goal. Amazing. Wouldn't we love if we could all live in an inclusive world? So where people can all truly obtain a value role and be fully included in their community. That might be in a participating way, it may be in a voluntary basis. For example, myself, I'm part of St Finbarr's Gaelic football team, and I've been there for many years now, 6 years, and I'm on the committee, and I'm on the St Patrick's Day Festival, and my valued role is sharing my skills on events and being part of that community. So inclusion is all around people having the opportunity to obtain a valued role and to truly feel like they have a sense of belonging in their community. If we were all the same, it would be a very boring world, I know that for sure. I'm going to pass it over to Christy.
Thank you, Kira. So at this morning's forum, you'll have the opportunity to listen to the different perspectives of 5 community leaders who have helped build a socially inclusive community. These speakers have utilised the frameworks that Kira has just mentioned, and these are the frameworks that underpin our organisation. These people are leading the way and progressing communities to ensure that they are inclusive and welcoming of all people. We're really excited for them to share their stories with you today, and I thank you all for joining us at our first Social Inclusion Forum. Thank you.
A couple of really powerful key messages in that presentation there. Thank you for sharing. The first is we all have ability to make a difference. We are the custodians of WA communities across the board in sport and recreation, and together, collectively, we can make impact. Great story of Eddie. Having known Eddie for many years myself, I absolutely vouch for the social standing that Eddie has in the Bayswater community as a result. Our next speaker is the Honourable Mick Murray. He's our current Minister for Sport and Recreation, Volunteering and Ageing. Member for Collie Preston, Minister Murray was first elected to Parliament in 2001. Prior to Parliament, Minister Murray was a mechanic at the Collie coal mine for 25 years. Previous to that, he was a local union delegate and served on the local council and numerous committees as well. Married with 4 daughters, must be a handful, having one myself, I can understand, and a grandfather to 5, Minister Murray enjoys fishing and diving and was a successful player and coach in the Collie footballing community. Please join me in making Minister Murray feel very welcome.
With that introduction, now you understand why my eyes don't come open. One is because I've been belted across the eyebrows that many times and through my football career, and certainly having a tough life working for many years underground. But thank you for the invitation to be here today. It's certainly always a pleasure when we have people going out and trying to increase the inclusion of certain people within our society. But first, can I acknowledge Rob Thompson, CEO of WA Sports Federation. You'll see him there somewhere. Yeah, there is over there. Christina Matthews is over there. I'm very hard-working CEO from the WACA. And a special person, the WA Paralympian, Sean Pollard. But there's a special bit about Sean. He got engaged the other day, and I think it was well done. WA Paralympian, I've just done that to get another run. But Jane Cousins with National Disability Services, and Kelly as well. Paul Flay, CEO of Inclusion Solutions. I must apologise in advance that I do have to leave a little early. We are having, well, it's the day before budget, and there'll be many questions to be asked on the steps as well as inside at Parliament today. But again, thanks for being here. And I can also acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands which we stand on today, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. So it's great to see a turnout such as this with the community organisations and state sporting associations, not-for-profit groups, individuals and local government here today. I think that says a lot in itself. Each of my ministerial portfolios, sports, seniors, volunteering, all have social inclusion embedded in their makeup. So this is an area of particular interest to me, enough that I dragged the staff along, screaming, kicking, and some saying we might get a good coffee. But it's great to that the staff have that interest as well. Something we talk about inclusion, and you know, if the staff aren't part of it, what's the point? The minister then just becomes a figurehead, and I don't intend to be that. We want to work very closely with all within the community. So we should be doing all what we can to create stronger communities, whether through sport, social groups, volunteering or other participation activities. I've been fortunate to have spent most of my life in a regional town where a strong sense of community is embedded in residents from a young age. Looking out for others is an important part of life in the country, And I always say one thing about it in a country town, if you fall down, people will pick you up. If you're in a city town, they'll walk around you. So I don't know whether it's true, but it seems to be like that when you're in a small community. In my opinion, there are other lessons to be learnt from the value regional WA places on inclusion in its communities. My experience of being closely involved with sport all my life is that nothing brings a community together as much as local sport and recreation. Local sport offers roles for players and volunteers from all age ranges and has a visible presence in the community and unites people behind a common goal. And I will just change that. You know, some of the smaller, going out further than smaller than my community, if it wasn't for a footy team or sometimes a cricket team in the summer period, the whole social structure would break down. It does see in many of those smaller country areas from people, say in the cricket area, 60 plus, playing with kids that are 17, 18 and even younger than that. So, you know, we do have an inclusion role within those country areas, something that does get a little lost in the city. And I don't mean that in disrespectful ways, but it's easy to become lost in a bigger world. For example, when looking at how to engage new Australians in our communities, I always point to the value of their children joining local sports clubs. And again, I'm going to get in trouble because I'm chopping this speech up, but I was out at a soccer club the other day. 12 different nationalities of kids in one team. That is just sensational, you know. I went down and, yeah, all sizes, shapes, colours, the whole lot were there, but they're all friends. And I think that's where we have a big role to play, not only in government, but also in our society. For example, when looking at how to engage new Australians in our communities, I always point to the value of their children joining local sporting clubs. In my experience, the kids will join and make friends quickly, as kids do. From there, the adults and older generations will become involved as well, not only in roles at the club, but also in the community activities that follow. And again, another story is about, I went to Melbourne some years back on a committee meeting in Parliament, and we went out to a group, and there was Muslim girls who had just started playing netball for the first time because we changed, not we, they changed the rules about the uniforms they could use. And one of the young girls was so proud that her mother was working on the booth. The first time she'd really become out of social isolation, into a community, and was working on the booth. Her greatest wish was she could get her dad there, and I hope she succeeded in that. So very, very much that social connection. Making these connections through sport is so valuable, and I'm proud to say, in my view, in West Australia we do it better than most states. I'm particularly pleased that today's forum has brought together so many representatives pushing to do even better in this area, all sharing concern for the challenges people face and the opportunities that can be created. Overcoming social barriers and creating inclusive environments is an important part of making West Australia a better place for everyone who lives here. The role played by not-for-profit organisations such as Inclusion WA, who over a long period have worked hard to identify, challenge, advocate and include all, cannot be underestimated. Your commitment to those deemed at risk is playing a valuable role and is one greatly appreciated by the community. It's appropriate that today's forum is themed around sport and recreation, and we are fortunate to have some of the great speakers and examples of best practice social inclusion. I'm sure you'll take a great deal away from today. I look forward to hearing what our speakers have to say, as long as I can stay long enough, and how all our experiences in this area interact. And that's something, again, the word interact, it'll come up time and time again, but I did notice up there it was very, very important that sometimes we think we're doing the right thing, but we haven't got the actual physical interaction. No, they've got that there, they've got this made, that's all there, and Sport and Rec's doing that, the government's doing that, but have we got the melting pot right? And I think that's really what we're about, is making sure that everyone ends up, as I put it, with a pointy end. It's pointless one going this way, that way, and I'm seeing that too much in government in my new role. So, you know, we're working very hard in that area to make sure that we can help, coordinate, and work with groups such as here. So, you know, it is special to have people out there leading the way, but it's also special when others come along, take some notice, maybe put their own spin on it, but work very hard to make sure we have social inclusion. So thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Minister, for a brilliant address. A couple of key points that I take away from that address. The first is nothing brings communities together like sport and recreation, particularly in WA. The second is that we have a common goal and that we absolutely can address this together. And the third is that we connect over our similarities, and it's not about our differences. It is absolutely our similarities that bring us together. Thank you. A little birdie told me that you're a fan of drop of white wine, and we've got a little present there for you too. So thank you for that, and I'll present that to you in the break if that's okay. The first of our presenters today is Kiri Penter from Roleystone Gymnastics Club. Kiri joined Roleystone Gymnastics Club in 1996 as a 6-year-old. Kiri became a coach of the club in 2005 at the ripe old age of 15. Kiri's coached numerous activities, including cheerleading and dance, has worked with different clubs. However, Kiri always found her way back to Roleystone Gymnastics Club. Kiri took on the role of coaching director in 2017. Kiri had a vision to revisit the core values that the club had when she was an athlete, namely fun, friendship, and family. Kiri's passionate about inclusion on multiple levels and uses gymnastics as a tool to bring community members together and share that common goal. Please join me in welcoming Kiri Penter to the stage.
Hello. So as Denver said, my name is Kiri Penter and I am the coaching director of Roleystone Gymnastics Club. We started our inclusive journey last year when we set out to create a class for those with disabilities or participation barriers. While on the journey, we quickly learned that inclusion was so much more than disability inclusion and that we'd actually been excelling in social inclusion without even realising. When we created our participation and inclusion pathways within our club, we began using the phrase more than gymnastics. These 3 words have created a mantra within our club that our whole club now follows. More than gymnastics led us to create classes aimed at groups that we believed could benefit from social opportunities and sport. We have social classes for teenage girls, boys parkour classes, and even senior classes, with our oldest athlete being 86. Today I'm not going to focus on those classes, I'm going to focus on the things we do outside of that within our club. Our building actually has quite bad physical access. This makes it really difficult for those who may be in a wheelchair or have walking difficulties to join us at our venue. This does not mean that they can't be a part of our club. We have a really, really strong focus on social access to make up for the lack of physical access until we can improve that. This year we created a welcome desk. The idea of the welcome desk was mainly to keep up with fees and attendance, but it ended up becoming so much more than that. Our coaches sit at the desk each afternoon and they meet and greet all our members, new and existing. This gives our existing members a real sense of belonging and appreciation. A simple hello every afternoon is all they get. Maybe a check-in, love your leotard, a little comment, something like that. And the parents feel really great about themselves. They feel great that they've joined our club and the kids go into class really happy. It's also a really good opportunity for our new members to ask their questions, to sign up, to find out about fees before they've even stepped in the door. Before they can get overwhelmed by the gym environment, they've got everything there, they've met their coach, and it gives them a real sense of belonging. This has helped our retention rates, and it's also helped us with lots of coach education. This has given our coaches a valued role outside of their normal job. It's also helped our volunteers step up, and we're able to identify those that may excel in an administration role in the future. We're also really lucky at Roleystone Gymnastics Club that we have a class viewing area for our parents. This is quite rare in gymnastics, as many clubs can't afford to give up the space or may find parents that can occasionally be a little bit of a distraction to the kids. At our club, the parents are too busy having a chat with each other to notice what the kids are really doing, which we love. It's loud and there's babies crawling around everywhere, but we actually love it. From having this area in our gym, we've managed to pick up more volunteers than ever, and these volunteers have even led to becoming committee members, giving more valued roles to those within our club. The biggest thing we do for social access is our community events. These events began as fundraisers for our club. We had a really big goal. We wanted to get a new gymnastics floor, and we needed a lot of money to do that. These events were really successful. We ran quiz nights and barefoot bowls nights, and these were really big money makers for us. We got our floor, but the community still wants the events. They love it. We have more people from outside of our club attend these events than the members at our club. Last year, we had a couple contact us because they were new to the area and they wanted to meet more people in Roleystone. So we sent them to a barefoot bowls night, and they've even come back this year. They're really fun nights. They go viral on Facebook because everyone's got a sore head the next day, and they're trying to warn everyone in Roleystone to watch out for the zombies. I'm going to move on to positive partnerships now, but before I do that, I have a really short video from a committee member from the Roleystone Football Club.
Hi, I'm Hazel from the Footy Club, the Roleystone Tigers. So I have been asked by the Roleystone Gymnastics Club to jump on and say a few words just about how we work together in partnership, and I was very, very honoured and very, very pleased to do that. I jumped at the chance. Very nice to be able to help such a hard-working committee out. So I am personally continuously impressed by the various options that the clubs has to have. So right from Gymnotion right through to what they have on offer for the seniors. I love the fact that there is opportunities for people to be graded and then come along and participate and not be graded. I think that's fantastic. I think I'm continuously blown away about just what is on offer and how much is on offer with those guys. They just seem to be tirelessly working away at having things get better and better. Look, we love supporting the Roleystone Gymnastics Club because they support us. I think when I started talking about doing this, I thought of the first example that I had to do with the Roleystone Gymnastics Club, and that was we at the football club were hosting a double header. It was a massive day. It was a lot of pressure on everybody to make sure everything was timed right, and it's a big job. So the Gymnastics Club got on board and they organised to have at half time some of the gymnastics come out and cheerlead. It was fantastic. So their little members came out and cheered on the boys as they came off the ground. And we also were very lucky on that day. We had the junior football team also play a little scratchy at halftime as well. So it was a great day. It was a great day in the community, and it was a testimony as to how we all just get on and help each other out. It was an interesting day because not only did we have a double header of football, the Gymnastics Club that night also had a major fundraising event at the hall, which was just across the park, and they were having a quiz night. So a lot of work for them as well. So not only were they organising that, they were over there organising, helping us organise our day. Collaboration between the clubs, doesn't stop there. Obviously, the sharing of equipment and sharing of ideas and sharing of support. As I said, they support us as much as we support them, and we absolutely love doing so. Again, best wishes to all of them in all of their endeavours, and again, honoured to be able to, or to be asked to do this little spiel for them. So good luck, and thank you for everything.
So as Hazel mentioned, it was a really huge day for both clubs, and the footy club actually came to our quiz night that night as well, which was really generous of them, and it was a very big night and a very successful night for our club as well. So we really appreciated that. By partnering with other groups in our community, we are able to add exposure both for our group and theirs. We share a message and we strengthen our values. This is in our club, in their club, in any of the groups in our community. We are currently starting a partnership with Headspace Armidale. We believe that we share the same values and we really want to spread their message, and they are so keen to spread our message as well. This is the start of our journey. We don't know where it's going to lead, but we're really excited about it. Joining with groups like Headspace is really easy. There's no conflict of interest, and all it can do is benefit both our clubs. Joining with a sports group seems scary. Why would one sports group want to support another sports group? They might steal our members, especially in a really tiny community like Roleystone. But at the end of the day, kids are going to go play footy in term 2 and 3, whether they love gymnastics or not. So we support them so our members come back to us. And the same for them. They support us so their members come back to them. And it's really lovely. We're a little bit spoiled in gymnastics though. We can use the start here, go anywhere message to promote gymnastics as a fundamental for all sports. By doing this, we're able to work with our netball club, our soccer clubs, our t-ball clubs, our footy clubs, to use gymnastics as a tool to improve speed, strength, stamina, and we're really, really lucky to do that. So we get to cheat a little bit. And gymnastics is really fun. I'm now going to move on to asset-based development. This is the easiest pillar of inclusion. You're just building on what you already have. I'm going to use our gym motion class, which is our class for those with participation barriers, as an example for this. Last year, we identified that we had 3 members of our club that excelled in dealing and working with children with autism. It was perfect. We were able to get so much guidance, so much advice, so many management strategies, and these gave these members really valued roles within our club. That was a really big deal for our club, but there's so many things we do that are so much smaller and still make a huge impact on people's life. We have one mum that comes in every afternoon and fills up our water filter. Without a doubt. She walks in that door, she fills up the water filter, she packs the snacks, she fixes up the fridge, she makes everything tidy, and that is her role, and she loves it, and it saves Carly and I a huge job. We don't have to do that, we can focus on more important things, and we love her for that. We have parents that come in and do laminating. Yes, thank you. I don't want to do the laminating. They love doing the laminating. They get out the guillotine, they're chopping things up. The other day we had 3 parents in and they had a little train going, and that helped us out so much, and meant we didn't have to do it. We love roles like that. All you need to do is identify who in your club can do this for you. We're really lucky we have a great committee who love to talk. Every night they're there, they are talking to someone. If there's a new parent in, there's one particular committee member who will just find a new person and go and talk their ear off and find out everything they're great at, and then come and report it all back to us and go, did you know that she actually works here? And then we go, well, even last night we had a new parent come in and we noticed she was wearing a work t-shirt with a local disability assistance group, and we kind of went, you're on our radar now. We want to know more about you. So hopefully that will lead to a really valued role for her in our club. We can also do this by other ways. We've had open days, which has given us insight into other clubs. We found parents that were on committees for other clubs, and we want to use them. We want to join with their clubs. We want to make these partnerships happen. We also have a seniors class, and at the end of each seniors class, we hold a little morning tea for these adorable athletes who we love. And we're hoping that by doing this morning tea, we can find maybe retired teachers, handy people, anyone that's willing to help out, that can either help us out by building things because they're retired, they've got extra time, or perhaps they can share their knowledge with us. We have another member coming in at the moment to help us just share her knowledge with our coaches and improve the education for all our team. Asset-based development is so easy because it's already there. You just have to find it. Remember that the smallest changes you make can have the biggest impact. We changed the seating in our club, gave more seats to parents, and we've gained more volunteers and more committee members. We support other clubs, and in return, they don't just support us, they promote us, and they promote our values. We've identified members of our club who have provided knowledge and education to benefit our members, our coaches, and our classes. We really are more than gymnastics, and we hope you can be more than your sport as well. Thank you.
A focus on social access and social inclusion, really important to shift that. That can-do attitude really has helped Roleystone to take it to the next level. And from a community point of view, the collaboration and partnerships are really critical. And having witnessed the Minister's address on a number of occasions recently with the Bayswater Bowls Club, I think it's critical that clubs now think about community access and positive partnerships as well. So well done on becoming a cornerstone of the community, and we look forward to Roleystone becoming a household name in time to come as well. I'd like to introduce our second guest presenter for the day, Rob Thompson. So prior to joining WA Sports Federation, Rob has had a long involvement in sports as a participant, a coach and an administrator. Rob commenced at the WACA in 1988 following 12 years of employment in the education sector. Rob enjoyed a 15-year tenure at the WACA across various roles. Rob joined a private community development consultancy in 2003, which focused on building communities in new and expanding residential areas across WA. Rob is an accredited AFL coach and dedicates significant time to various administration roles in cricket. Rob's outstanding contribution to the sport and recreation sector has seen him announced as a finalist in the sports category for the 2018 WA of the Year, Western Australian of the Year Awards. Please welcome Rob Thompson.
This is the bit I've got to get right, make sure this microphone works. Hopefully people can hear that. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Denver. Denver spoke to me 4 weeks ago about potentially coming and having a conversation this morning. One of the things he threw at me is, what does inclusion mean to you? And speaking from your experience, could you give a bit of an insight to the people that arrived this morning? And an impressive group it is. Well, that set me back a little bit, because the first thing I said to him is I see inclusion as seeing the potential in people and providing them with an opportunity, and standing back and watching some wonderful things happen. So over a long period of time, and I started out in sport in the 60s, believe it or not. That's 1960. As a kid going to school in a state school. You don't call them those things anymore. In fact, there's a number of things that I might say this morning that we don't use anymore. And I'll give you some examples of those. So this little state school doesn't exist anymore. In fact, it was bulldozed, and there's a Target shopping centre on Albany Highway now. At that school, and I was one of 5 kids from the same family walking to school. We didn't live too far from East Vic Pope Primary. And there was a really interesting little cluster of kids that attended our school. They were in Mrs. Dowling's class. Mrs. Dowling was the teacher who looked after the kids that was referred to as the special class. These were kids that came from the district around, had some challenges in their learning, but they were part of our community. They were in our playground every playtime. They were in our sporting teams, and in fact, as I got older and became the captain of the blue faction, a lot of those kids were in our particular faction, and we picked them into teams, and as a captain you had to pick the teams. So we put them in teams, and they were part of our little school community. I then went on to Kent Street High School, again, a government school. A couple of changes happened there, and it taught me a couple of things as I spent my time at Kent Street. One was they closed Bentley High School. The kids from Bentley came to our school. Boy, was there a change. That was a tough old community, Bentley, in those days. You could feel the change in the environment at Kent Street High School. And then 2 years later, Kewdale High School was changed, and the kids from Kewdale arrived. Now, all of these things start to shape your experiences and your understanding and seeing the interaction of people from a lot of different backgrounds. The one constant that I had through that period and then going into adult life has been sport. So I had a family crazy about it. Father that coached footy, played cricket well into his 40s. Mum that took our two sisters along to netball, softball and a few other sports. That was the way it operated. We only had one car. Different context to today. Now, I only share that because they're some of the backgrounds that shape the way I think and the things that become important. Denver mentioned I started out teaching, then went to the WACA, and that was an interesting period. In fact, I met Chris while I was there. We were involved in a couple of things that were fairly revolutionary in cricket in those days, and I look back and see they were less revolutionary. Chris, I think you were at Alice Springs with us at one stage, where the National Cricket Indigenous program started, in the same room as a whole pile of Aboriginal people from around Australia. I don't think any of us knew what was getting started that particular day, but we knew there needed to be some change. What I am pleased to say is I think sport has embraced, as the Minister said, this notion of inclusion in our community. My wife teaches at a school. She's a phys ed teacher, Vic Park Primary School. There's over 30 different nationalities in that one school now. Many of them are connected to the local university, Curtin. The parents of the kids are attending the university, maybe in study, maybe as lecturers, teachers, or part of that university community. But 30 different nationalities in Victoria Park. Throws up some interesting challenges for them. I was told last night, because I happened to ask the question, 60% of that school, English is their second language. Now that's some interesting information if we care to use it. Most of those kids, obviously, coming in from other parts of the world, have different backgrounds, different cultures, different views of the world initially. But get them out in the playground and the first thing I want to do is have a game of cricket. The boys, it's Pakistan versus India, not Australia versus Pakistan versus India. And I'm told they're pretty bloody noisy. Denver mentioned Simon Sinek, and it's an interesting, if you haven't seen Simon, TED Talk, YouTube. I'm not as old as I look, YouTube. But there is a really neat little session, 5 minutes, and it's the power of why. 3 letters, 1 little word. What's our purpose? And what that's thrown up for a lot of us who had a look at it is, why do we do the things we do? Why do we connect with the things that we do? People are more interested in why we do things than what we do or how we do it. I'd be interested, and this is the conversation piece, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. If you don't know the person next to you, introduce yourself. Ask that person next to you, why are you here this morning? Why did you come? 30 seconds, away you go. Let's see if we can get a couple of you to join me. Anybody brave enough? Who's the first hand up? First person why are you here? Anyone want to share it with the rest of us? Come on, who's brave? I haven't got any gifts. Who's brave? Thank you.
Ian McLaughlin from Fremantle Lifesaving Club.
Sorry, Ian, can we get you on the microphone?
Oh, apologies. That's my fault.
I do fine without a microphone usually. So Ian McLaughlin from Fremantle Surf Lifesaving Club. So we're looking to start to become more socially inclusive. We do actually run, there's a lot of aspects where safety is involved, obviously, with swimming and having people out in the water, but generally, we can cover a lot of that with our volunteers, and we're looking to become a more inclusive club.
Great, that's 30 seconds, by the way. Well done. Anybody else, quickly?
Roy, you had your hand up.
There you go.
I'll pick on you.
He's going to present in a minute. You've stolen his thunder, Denver.
Introduce myself first, do I? I'm Roy McNamara-Smith, Community Engagement Manager at the WACA. I'm here today because Denver and Christy are very persuasive, and also because I'm passionate about what we do at the WACA and really excited to share the journey we've been on and the direction we're heading.
Great.
How's that, 25 seconds?
You've done well.
Good.
Very well. Okay, just in terms of the connection, I get a sense that most of us are here because of some connection to sport and recreation. Please raise your hand if you are a deliverer of that sport or recreation experience, a direct deliverer into the community. Great, hands down. Those that support the deliverers, raise your hands. Good. Those that have some other role. Okay, interesting. So we've got about a third there. People directly contacting the community. We recently had, at the invitation of the Minister, a conversation with him about his priorities and those that he'd like to see in sport. One of them is about this area of inclusion. And it was also interesting in talking to the Minister, we said, how do we see these things rolling out? My view, and it's only a personal view, as the Minister said, they can set some priorities, set some, if you like, goals, some objectives, connect and converse with people, but it's my strong view, it's the community that delivers it. And we've got to enable the community through conversations initially to pick up those opportunities. Because you've heard today, there's some fantastic things going on in Roleystone. I'm lucky enough to hear a lot of that in a variety of sports and a variety of settings. Regional, not so much remote, I've got to say, but regional, and then in the metropolitan area. And I do agree with the Minister. One of the things from experience in doing that consultancy work some years ago was that many people in the community in the metropolitan area are screaming out for those community attributes to be there. It's not going to happen through government priority. It will happen on the ground in each of the communities, and it's going to take leadership, it's going to take conversations, and it's going to take the hard work that the gymnastics groups and others are doing. Because we don't have the meeting places that we had in 1960. My mum could walk in and out of the school. It's kiss and drop now, whatever that means. In fact, parents, I don't get a sense, feel as welcome on the school sites as they once did, for a variety of reasons. Maybe some of it very well intended, but for a variety of reasons. Churches don't necessarily hold the same standing that they once did in our communities, but the sporting clubs are still there, still doing fantastic work, connecting people up. Lots of different backgrounds. We can do more. There's a challenge there, there's an opportunity, we can do more. But I'm really pleased and encouraged by what I hear from clubs and the state sporting associations when they are prioritising people, wanting to engage more. The trick is now, how? What's the supports? And the sorts of things that I've seen Denver Pride in the last couple of weeks that I've seen on the board this morning, on the wall this morning, they are opportunities. But people need to work in their own local environments. Getting access to those, knowing where they are, that's the critical part. And what is really pleasing is those sports that have got the resources and have people in the field are starting to change the way they're going about things. They're inviting conversations, they're inviting clubs to plan and explore. We're doing some work at the Federation around some planning, and it starts by asking people, why do they do what they do? What's their purpose? What are your values? And inclusion is one of those. What are your values? Then we talk to them about the behaviours they expect in their organisations and their clubs and what they will not accept. And that's the tough bit. What do you do if something occurs that is not in line with your values? We've seen some high profile stuff around that in the last little while. But I'm very convinced that the way Western Australia, and particularly one organisation went about it, is the way we most should operate. People make mistakes. How do we support them to be learners and get better and stronger? So I commend Denver and his team, Paul and the team on this morning. It's a great starting point in this conversation. It's the opportunity to pick up some of the things from today from other speakers. But I do say sport and rec is and can be an even stronger leader in this area of inclusion. Understanding what it means, its breadth, what it means to our communities and our future communities is really, really important. And it isn't measured in gold medals. So we need to understand, if we can, what are the sorts of things that we can celebrate as success along this journey. And it will be a journey rather than a destination, I'd suggest. One of the things that we've found in the software and what we've been doing is that 600 clubs have been involved so far. They've come back overwhelmingly with a couple of things that they believe are the key attributes of their clubs. They want to be family friendly and successful on and off the field. I don't know what either means really, but what we can do is ask them the questions because they know. And by asking them what does family friendly mean or successful mean, drilling in, they've been able to develop plans for themselves. They align pretty strongly in a lot of cases with their state association and minister back to some of your priorities. It's been a very interesting journey for us over the last 3 or 4 years, and we're very grateful to about 7 or 8 sports that have joined us in that. I must say, Chris, your organisation is one of them. So having a conversation locally, you can see what happens by the example of the Gymnastics Club. Open it up, give people a chance. Yes, they are volunteers, and they may not necessarily get through the volume of things that we expect of them, but they're doing fantastic work, and that ought to be celebrated. We've got some tricky times ahead, and I know talking to a few of the minister's staff over the last couple of weeks, there's all sorts of things that we're expecting of clubs now. Child protection, risk management. I don't know if I, as a volunteer, would put my hand up to be president of a club when all of those things are coming at me. So the more support we can give and provide, let's make their jobs easier because they are so vital. Thanks, everyone.
Our next speaker is Roydon McNamara-Smith. Roy is the current manager of community engagement at the WACA. Roy has over 12 years of experience in community development and sports development, In this time, Roy's worked across Australia and the South Pacific to develop sustainable participation. Passionate about all sports, Roy manages a team of specialist staff that are focused on driving change across areas in community participation to promote inclusion and diversity at all levels. Roy's goal is to ensure that cricket is embraced by all Australians as a sport of choice. Roy's particularly interested in supporting clubs and organisations in their efforts to embrace and enjoy other cultures and experiences. Please join in with me to welcome Roy McNamara-Smith.
Thank you, Denver. And I think looking at that photo before, it wasn't an accident. I wore the same shirt. I only have one. So it just so happens it made me look a bit good with a bit of Photoshop. We've got a great graphics team at the WACA. So when Denver and Christy approached me to come and speak at this forum, I had to think a little bit about the journey we've been on at the WACA and some of the challenges we've had and also some of the successes. I want to thank Kira and Rob for their presentations before, because a couple of things really resonated with me. Kiri talking about asset-based community development, local solutions for local problems. How do you enable people within your community, within your organisation, within your particular group to capitalise on the resources and the skills and experiences that each of you have to enable you to solve challenges and problems that you're facing. They're not going to be the same as the club up the road. They're not going to be the same as the state organisation that's implementing the policies and setting the direction for the sport. And Rob talking about the makeup of people in the room, the deliverers, the supporters, the people that are setting strategies and providing the resources to help clubs grow their sport, grow their connection to community. I want you to have a bit of a think, for those of you that have come from a sporting club, about the first time that you went down. You might have been a kid, might be as an adult. What was that experience like? Did you walk down, drop off, not much idea about what you're doing there, get roped into an activity, put out on the field, a couple of drills? Did someone come up to you, welcome you to the club, bring you in, tell you about what they're about, involve you in activity, explain what you're doing? For me, coming from parents born overseas, coming to Australia, mine was cricket. How do we make this kid Australian? How do we find the best way to make him fit in and be involved with his community? So that was down to the local cricket club. In my whites, in my hat. Wasn't the best experience. Sorry, Chris. Did no idea what was going on. And I think for the first 3 weeks, I spent most of my time walking from one side of the boundary to the other side of the boundary. Didn't have a bat, didn't have a bowl, didn't really enjoy it, didn't make a lot of friends. Thankfully, things have changed a little bit. But for me, my journey through sport was having the opportunity to work overseas, use my experience in community development and really look at what sport provides for people, that sense of belonging, that sense of connection to community, that sense of value that comes from involvement with your peers, with your colleagues, with your friendship group. There we go. So for us at the WACA, we've been on a journey probably for the last 3 or 4 years, really looking at how do we provide opportunities for people to play. And it's based on the philosophy that everyone should have the opportunity to engage in our sport. Denver went through some of the census results earlier, talking about the makeup of our population in Western Australia. On your right-hand side, 65% is the general participation rate of people in organised sport in WA. On your left-hand side is the participation rates for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander groups, multicultural groups, and people with a disability. At the WACA, we've got a dedicated community engagement team that is charged with supporting our department, supporting our staff, to make sure that the clubs we work with, the associations that we work with, are setting themselves up to be a place that welcomes people no matter what their background, gender, level of ability. The challenge for us is what kind of support we provide to those clubs. How do we move from our activities in schools, where we have a massive footprint, a massive involvement and a massive range of programs that we offer, how do we get kids from those experiences into a community club, and how do we support a community club to be set up to welcome those participants? Up here is our participation results from the previous season. I'm sure you would have seen the headlines, massive growth across Australian cricket, number one participation sport across the country. In WA we had some massive increases in participation, particularly in our diversity areas. So for us that's female participation, Aboriginal participation, multicultural participation and participation of people with disability. What you'll also see there is the majority of those participants are in the school space. For us, the challenge and the opportunity really lies in those club numbers and how we provide opportunities, how we work with our stakeholders, work with other sports, with local government to transition kids out of a really good school experience into a really positive club experience with a club that knows what they're about, is connected to their community, has an understanding of the people around them and an understanding of the skills, the benefits and the opportunities that that brings. And for us, it starts with leadership. For a long time, sports, including cricket, have looked at those low engagement groups, those low participation groups, and targeted programs towards them. So we'd get the kit bags down, we'd pay a staff member to go down to a particular area and run a program. And we'd tick that off and go, that's fantastic, our participation's gone up. That wasn't enough for us. And that's what led to the evolution of how we operate, which I'll talk about a little bit more. If it goes. To be leaders in Australian sport, so not just in cricket, if we're going to be genuine in how we engage with low participation groups, in how we promote inclusion and diversity across community cricket clubs and organisations, we have to set an example and we have to ensure that every one of our staff members understands our role as a peak body, understands our role as a state sporting association in encouraging clubs and supporting clubs to be that accessible community organisation, to be that place where people are valued for the skills that they have, and to be that place that celebrates the fact that they have that connection to the community around them. So for us, it's not just about having staff that can go and run targeted programs. It's not about having a presence in schools. It's about ensuring that our staff members, particularly the ones that work in the game development area and the state sporting associations that are here in the room, and local government would have an understanding of how our staff from various sports operate in the community to support and develop their clubs. For us, it's about ensuring that every one of those staff members understands how to embrace inclusion and diversity as part of their role, how to ensure that the club development tools that we're implementing, Top Club, Top Plan, Sport for All workshops, actually incorporate an understanding of inclusion and diversity as opposed to coming in with another workshop alongside it or coming along with another resource for a club. We want to make sure that it's one conversation. Internally at the WACA, we find that the more diverse our workforce, the more diverse our people, the more that our staff are thinking about inclusion and diversity as part of a holistic plan for their clubs, as part of a holistic process for developing our sport. It actually has real tangible benefits within departments, within our organisation, in the way our staff think, in the way our staff approach problem solving, in the way our staff approach stakeholder relationships, in the way that they approach their work. And some of the examples I put up there are a direct result of that. So up in the top you'll see our Aboriginal designed uniforms for the Scorchers BBL game that was held in Alice Springs between the Scorchers and the Adelaide Strikers. That came as a result of many years of work, but also an understanding within our organisation of the role we play as a peak sporting body in developing Aboriginal cricket. It came as a result of an evolution of the governance of the game within the Aboriginal community, how we engage with Aboriginal participants, with Aboriginal leaders, and the development of a new advisory committee that actually sits as a subcommittee of the WACA board. It gives it legitimacy, it gives it authority. Through that process, we're able to actually take a leadership role in the development of this game. And the end result is a uniform. It's a shirt. It's not an understanding of the process that goes behind that. The employment of the only Aboriginal engagement specialist in the country that has a dedicated position within our sport to drive the participation of Aboriginal cricketers, to drive the development of the game as part of a holistic plan for WA cricket. In the bottom corner, Kyron, you'll see athletes from our three National Cricket Inclusion Championship teams: intellectual disability, blind and vision impaired, and deaf and hard of hearing. Again, a really simple gesture for us as a sport to have acknowledgement at the innings break of the BBL semi-final at the New Perth Stadium, to acknowledge the achievements of our state athletes, and they are state athletes representing WA at a national championships. Female cricket pathway as a sport that traditionally is not seen as a sport for women and girls. We've got a lofty ambition across Australian cricket, and particularly at the WACA, that we want to be the number one sport of choice for women and girls at the end of our next strategic plan. Again, we do that by establishing a leadership role within our sport to support clubs and associations, not dictate a policy from above, but actually work with our clubs, work with our associations to understand how they can provide a space where girls want to play, girls want to be involved in the sport. And the more we've gone down that journey with our Community Junior Cricket Council, which is the sort of the peak body for junior cricket, the more it becomes evident that it's just junior sport, it's just junior cricket. It's not about boys cricket, it's not about girls cricket. The opportunity that exists with a segment of the population that is 52% of the total population of Australia nationally, but about 2.5% of the cricket population, is a bit of a no-brainer for clubs that are looking for more players, more volunteers, more people to fill committee positions, more connection with their community. Those progressive clubs that want to reflect the place in which they sit. They want to reflect the community around them. They want people involved. And on your right-hand side is a Culture Cup, which is a program that's come out of our multicultural portfolio, but again has been led by the people within that community. The various community groups that are running cricket competitions around the metro area, being able to work with them in a community-driven process, asking them what do they want, what would bring them together to form a competition and allow us to showcase the diversity of our sport. And it actually came about from a staff member of mine who has been passionate and working in this space for a long time. In 2012, I think it was, when our general manager went on leave, Alan Singer, who's sitting in the room here, decided it'd be a good idea to get a community programs officer. WACA hadn't had one of those before, so I thought it'd be a good idea that the WACA should be involved in trying to grow the game and look at diverse segments of our community. But this staff member and I were at a practice game that the WACA held. I think it was maybe my first week when India were touring here. And practice games generally don't draw a big crowd. There might be a couple of hundred people there, a couple of members sitting in the stands. I think there was 15,000 people that came for this practice game. The place was completely overwhelmed. The catering staff had no idea what to do. Mick and Michael on the gate had no idea how to filter all these people in. But what it showed to us is there's a whole segment of the population that we haven't been engaging with, because that's not reflected in the community the community makeup of our participants. So I've got a video here that I just want to show you. Hopefully. Should work. And while it's loading, it's, again, I mentioned it before, a video showcasing our state teams at the National Cricket Inclusion Championships that are in its second year now, held in Geelong. Now, I show that video, and the one I wanted to show was about 4 minutes long, which would have saved me a lot of talking and a lot of you listening to my grating voice. But I show that video because it's a small reflection of the work that's gone into a number of programs, but it showcases more the commitment of the WACA, of how we operate, to look at programs that we run, look at the state teams that represent WA, and recognise that a state team is a state team, whether it's the intellectual disability team, the deaf and hard of hearing WA team, or the blind and vision impaired team. They are a state team, they're state athletes, they're part of a pathway that provides opportunities to represent your country. When Justin Langer came and presented caps to two of our athletes, Boyd Duffield and Anthony Calamares, what he said to them is, you're representing WA, you're a WA cricketer. You're no different from Maxi Klinger who's standing in front of you. You've got the WA uniform on. And that's reflected in how we approach programs like this. We want to ensure that if it's a state team, they've got a high performance coach. They've got a link to our health and conditioning staff. They've got an opportunity to be valued as an athlete as opposed to recognised for their disability. So it comes with an investment, and it comes with a challenge of being prepared to display that leadership and say, we believe that this is what we should be doing because it's right, because people represent their state, represent their country, represent their community. They're part of a pathway, they're part of our sport, irrespective of where they come from or what their level of ability. And it goes back to the point I made at the beginning about doing this as part of a holistic plan. Unless you do that, you'll have wins, and we've had wins, but we've also had a lot of challenges. So some of my former team here, a lot of my colleagues, the last 2 or 3 years hasn't been easy. We haven't got it right some of the time, but we've also had a lot of wins. We know where we need to be going, and we know that if we view inclusion and diversity in terms of a holistic approach to club development, in terms of supporting clubs to connect with the community in which they are situated, to provide opportunities to showcase the skills, experiences, the talent that they've got around them, it'll be a lot more sustainable and a lot more effective than the WACA going out and running a program, or the WACA going out and delivering an activity. We've got time for one more video, or I'll show you this last one because again it just reflects that approach to the WACA family, the one team approach where a state team is a state team. It's deserving of the same time, effort, energy and resources that we put into our elite athletes. And again, I say this with aspiration because we're not all the way there just yet, but we recognise where we need to get to and what that's going to take.
Yes, Mitch, I've been watching you with your blogs out of Dubai, and the one tip that I can give you, mate, is if you can actually try to be funny, would really help. But hopefully today I'll be able to give you a few tips on how to improve your blog. I'm in Alice Springs for the Indigenous Championships. It's great to be up here and be amongst all the young cricketers who have come here from all over the country to watch and to give on some advice that hopefully can make them better cricketers. Well, Dane, how's it been in Alice Springs?
It's been blooming hot, but very exciting. Some young talent on show, and yeah, really enjoying this one.
Well, Jake, you've played most of your cricket in Kalgoorlie over the last couple of years. How's the cricket going up there?
Yeah, cricket's going well. It's a great country sort of cricket vibe there. We've been going well, and there's hopefully a few Indigenous cricketers going to come through the system up there and hopefully come over here and represent WA and give it a good go through the pathways, hopefully.
Fantastic. Have you got a little message you'd like to send the Australian cricket team?
Yeah, I just want to wish them all the best over in India. It's quite tough conditions over there, and yeah, I want to wish them all the best and try and get a series win from all the boys and girls over here. Yeah, wishes all good luck.
From Swampy, it's goodbye from Alice Springs. And Mitch, this is how you do a sign-off shot.
So I'm about to wrap up. Saw the sign. I just wanted to play that because, again, it points to the concept of leadership. We're very fortunate to have Chris supporting the work we do across not just game development, but in the inclusion and diversity space. The Aboriginal program that we run, that state team, is actually an example of what happens when we do get it right. You know, it's taken a long time, but we've got a program where it sits with high performance and game development as a shared accountability. It's a high performance coach. It's got the strength and conditioning team behind it. It's obviously got Jeff involved and excited about it. But equally our women's program, having access to really high quality coaches that are the same coaches that support the Fury, the Scorchers, and players that are entering the pathway at the state level. So that's really exciting for us. So I just wanted to finish with this, and it links a bit to what Rob said. And I know it's ironic because I've just had a PowerPoint on for the last 20 minutes, but for us it really is about the conversation, being able to sit down with people and talk about what their community needs, what does your club need, what are you trying to achieve, how can we help you do it. That is the beauty of inclusivity. It's the shared knowledge of a group, shared experiences and the shared skills. So thank you very much, and I hope I haven't taken up too much time.
Our next presenter is Heather Timms, proud mother of two sons, Kyron, aged 26, and Damien, aged 24. After her eldest son, Kyron, graduated in Year 12, he was given the opportunity to participate in a come and try session for players with intellectual disability. This was the first time Heather's family had ever been involved in organised sport at a club level. The Timms family's lifestyle rapidly began to change, running Kyron to and from football games and training sessions and providing support to other players in the team. The CBC Fremantle club noticed how much value Heather had and approached Heather to be part of the club as a team manager. This role has grown into team coordinator, managing two teams of over 50 athletes. Due to her passion and management of the CBC, the WACA and Kardinya Lakes, very smartly I might add, approached Heather to assist and grow the ID team for people with intellectual disability in cricket as well. Her role as a volunteer has not only added immense value to her own life, but also to that of her family's. Please join me in welcoming Heather Timms today.
Thanks, Denver. You took half of my speech away with my introduction. Basically, my life changed for the best in 2010 when I took Kyron to his first come and try footy day at the Fremantle CBC. Kyron had never really played sports before then, maybe a little bit when he was at school. He'd come home quite excited. He'd been playing soccer, and I said, fantastic. How long were you on the field for? Maybe a minute. And okay, we can deal with that. And so through school, very limited opportunities to play sport. And I thought, right, I want to take up playing golf. I said, Kyron, do you want to play golf? Be my golf partner. He goes, yeah, Mum, okay. So the next few years, as you can see, I'm quite nervous. So the next few years, Kyron and I learnt to play golf. And, you know, he's hitting a drive 220 metres down the fairway. I'm still in the bush hacking around. He goes, Mum, try harder. I said, Kyron, I am. So from then on, I saw that he did have the skills to play sport. All the years of OT, speech therapy, everything was paying off in Kyron's later years. So we went and joined Fremantle CBC, did a couple of come and try sessions. He had no footy boots in those days, and just playing with his sneakers on. Then one day a package arrived, a pair of footy boots in the mail. I said, Kyron, how'd you get there? Oh, I bought them on eBay, Mum. I went, okay. His passion of footy boots has now grown to about 6. Every season he gets a new pair, especially when he makes state selection and he's in the state team. He comes home with another new pair of footy boots, and they're not cheap ones either. So I got involved with Fremantle CBC just basically as a mum, just supporting my son, and then I seemed to be supporting a few other people around the place. At the end of 2010, the coach said to me, Heather, how about being team manager for the guys? We got 24 guys and the 2 coaches couldn't manage them. I said, what does it involve, Brendan? He goes, not much. I still say to him to this day, not much. That not much has totally consumed my life. Anyway, 2011, we got our first sponsor. The guys got their new jumpers and everything. And I think we played about 4 games that season, 2 other teams in the comp, and we won the premiership. The guys were just wrapped. So I organised to get all their medals framed and everything for them. From then, 2013, the success of the Fremantle CBC just grew. We had 50 players. And I went, okay, time to split into 2 teams. So we had a gold and a green team. I was the manager of both. And we spoke to our committee and said, look, it's just getting too big for me to handle. So we, appointed 2 team managers, 2 coaches, 2 assistant coaches, had to get 2 umpires, had to get 2 goalies, had to get 2 of everything. So we split the 2 teams equally down the middle. We didn't have an A or a B team. We had 2 even teams. So the result was 2013, I had a CBC derby on my hands, a premiership. Lucky to say, gold team. Kyron's team won the premiership that year. So our journey's been quite, how can I describe it? It's just life-changing. One minute Kyron wasn't playing any sports, and I was playing golf and having a lot of lunches. And now I'm involved with the WACA as well. In 2016, Kardinya Lakes approached me and said, Heather, I hear you're the person to help me get a cricket team up and running south of the river, because the WACA was introducing an integrated program for cricket. I said, I'll see what I can do. I put an email out to my lads, said, we've got to come and try a day. 24 players rocked up. I had 2 teams of cricket now. There goes my summers at Rottnest with my husband on the boat, drinking champagne in Catherine Bay. Here I am, hosting 2 cricket teams. And I knew I had to get 2 good team managers to back me. So I got 2 of the ladies from the footy team that I knew. And I said, would you like to be my team managers? Yep, not a problem. Again, I needed 2 coaches, 2 assistant coaches, 2 team managers, you name it, 2 of everything, and the scorers and the water runners. And we had a successful summer. I think there was about 6 teams in 2016 when we first started playing cricket. And again, we were one of the largest WA integrated cricket teams. From there, the success went on that we were able to nominate some of our Kardinya Lake players to try out for the state team at the National Carnival. And Kyron was selected and he made the cut. But it took a lot of hard work to get there. For 2 years beforehand, he'd never picked up a cricket ball until I said to him, Kyron, I'm going to run an integrated cricket team. Do you want to be one of my players? He goes, yeah, why not, Mum? And he did. He took up the challenge and he's been working really hard. From then, My journey's just full on. My life is full on and crazy, but all in a good way. I'm there to support my players and give advice when they need it. We have coaches that do a marvellous job. At Fremantle CBC, we're fully inclusive. Everybody is welcome, regardless of the ability. We don't see the disability in our players. We see the ability. We see what they can do, not what they can't do. One of my favourite stories is one of my players, Maddie, one of Kyron's good friends. He has cerebral palsy, and basically we call him wobbly on his feet. And I bumped into Maddie one day and I said, "What are you doing these days?" He said, "Nothing." I said, "Come and join our footy team." He goes, "I can't play footy." I said, "Of course you can." We put him on the footy field, stuck him right out in front of goals because he could only move a couple of feet either way. And Kyron handballed the ball to him and he got the ball. He thought he'd actually marked it. So he's just wobbling around and we're going, "Kick the ball, Maddie, you're only 2 foot away, kick it." And all Kyron's teammates put a circle around him. Someone turned Maddie in the right direction. He kicked his first ever goal. This Saturday, Maddie is marking his 50th game milestone. We have a banner, a CBC banner with their names on, and the guys will be running through. And Maddie is one of my success stories. I've also been lucky to be a part of the WAFL 2015 and 2017 state football trips on their tours. And I see our state players, how they succeed. Some of the players that haven't even been on a plane before, let alone been away from home. And the hard work that the WAFL and the tour group put into these athletes, it's to be commended. Also, the WACA has got their state teams going. And again, it's just the way that the sport's conducted on such a professional level. Even though our players have disabilities, we don't see that. They're state team players. So our life is busy in the Timms family. Kyron will speak shortly and tell you roughly what his week curtails. I've also instrumental in forming dinner clubs with our guys. They had no friendship connections, so now I have a dinner club for Kyron with about 8 of his best mates. And then the parents wanted to join the dinner club. So when we go out now, there's 30 people for dinner every 6 to 8 weeks. And I've made a lot of friends throughout my journey. But what's good about integrated football or integrated cricket for the teams that I'm involved with is the clubs believe in us. The clubs are there and we're fully inclusive within the club environment. We're not the disability kids or we're not the disability team. We're another team in their league, in their club. Thank you.
Great story there from Heather Timms. Serial volunteer. Kira mentioned earlier the dimensions of inclusion, being someone, having the ability to contribute and being valued. Heather epitomises all of those. We've delivered a number of training sessions across metro areas in the last couple of weeks, 3 in particular where Heather's name has come up. So we refer to a club and explain the story of how a club has changed diversity and changed their focus on inclusion. And in on every occasion that we presented that story, someone says, "I know Heather." Absolutely. So Heather's absolutely a person of value. And great to see the message there really strong and clear about seeing the ability and how people can connect to community as well. Interestingly, we went out to the Kardinya Lakes Cricket Club and shot a video with the club a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke to the president, Ian, and we said, look, in terms of monetary value, how much better off is your club as a result of being inclusive? His answer at a guess was around $35,000 a year. For a small community club, that's significant. So moving on to our final guest speaker for a Q&A, Kyron Timms. Kyron is a passionate and talented WA sportsman, as you heard. He's represented WA in AFL, basketball and cricket. This wasn't always the case. During his school years at Seton Catholic College, sport did not come naturally to Kyron. He was occasionally invited to play in the school soccer team, but his time on field was few and far between. It wasn't until Fremantle CBC hosted their first come and try session in 2010 that Kyron's life changed forever. As his skills on the sporting field developed, so did his friendships and volunteer opportunities within the club. Kyron found himself in a premiership-winning team, surrounded by his newfound friends, in a club that he loved. Many more doors began to open for Kyron, which saw him joining the West Rise basketball competition in Kalamunda and Kardinya Lakes Cricket Club. Kyron has now represented WA in 3 different sports, as I mentioned, and is a valued member of all local clubs that he belongs to. His skill and passion for sport have seen him take on leadership roles within football and cricket, and he's now working towards a personal goal of playing mainstream football. Please welcome Kyron Timms.
Are you sure it's working, yeah?
It is now.
Yeah, just hang on.
We're on. Kyron, so I've got a few questions for you. Firstly, welcome. You're a state representative in 3 different sports, cricket, basketball and Aussie rules, as I said. In your eyes, what are the best aspects of being involved in organised sport?
Oh man, I like keeping fit and playing all different sports. I also play integrated rugby, golf and indoor cricket. I love being involved in state competitions and travelling to new places and meeting new friends.
Excellent. Mate, Christina's left the room now, so you can say what you like for this question. While I'm sure you love all 3 sports, is there a favourite amongst those, and what's the reason for that?
Aussie rules football is my favourite because it's my favourite... I'm sorry, I'm just messing up my mic.
That's okay.
Is my favourite because it was my first sport I learned to play, and I have made lots of friends throughout playing football in our local competition as well as state competition.
Now, you've played on world-class stadiums such as the MCG, Patterson Stadium and even Optus Stadium recently. How does it feel to walk out as a player and represent your club or state on those grand arenas?
As a player, I felt really proud to be given the opportunity to play at these stadiums. It was my childhood dream to play on the MCG, and I was really excited to play in front of a huge crowd during the 2015 state footy trip.
Excellent. Let's talk leadership. Now, I know you're highly thought of for your leadership capabilities in both cricket and football. Prior to your immense involvement in sport, did you have any aspiring leaders, did you have many leadership opportunities in your life?
No, I was never given an opportunity to have a leadership role because, before I became involved with the sport, I am now a co-captain for my footy team, yeah?
That's brilliant. Is there a leader you aspire to be like?
Yes, Shannon Hearn, the captain of the West Coast Eagles. He's a great defender, and we play in the same position on the footy field.
It's a good enough reason for me. Let's talk football, hey?
What's so funny, okay?
I've been reliably informed, mate, that you've been doing a lot of work in the off-season, and I'm interested to know, have you modelled your game on any particular AFL player?
Yes, I'm trying to be... Yes, I'm trying to be play like Adam Sards from Essendon. I've been watching lots of YouTube videos on Adam Sards' highlights, and I now have a personal trainer that is teaching me his explosive running techniques to improve my defending skills and fitness level.
That's brilliant. What are your personal goals for football in the year ahead, Kyron?
To be selected for the WA state footy team that will be playing in the 2018 National Inclusion Carnival in Launceston, Tasmania next month. State training starts tonight at City Beach Reserve. My ultimate goal would be to get selected in the All-Australian team for the AFL at the National Inclusion Carnival.
Brilliant. Now let's talk cricket. Back to cricket. You play your cricket at Kardinya Lakes, as I mentioned, a great club that it is. You've been a member of the integrated team for the past couple of years, and recently, earlier this year in 2018, you made your debut in the mainstream side. What was that like as an experience?
Oh man, I had butterflies in my stomach doing my mainstream one-day cricket debut. I made 9 runs, not out, and bowled no wickets for 4 runs after 1 over. The game went on for 40 overs in 6 hours to play. It was a very long day, and and I had to concentrate really hard.
That's good. That's eight more.
That's 2 pages done.
And 8 runs more than I made in my last innings, mate, so you've done well.
That was 9 runs.
Yeah, that's 8 more than me. Mate, what are your goals for cricket in the year ahead?
To be selected in the WA State Cricket again. They'll be held at Geelong in 2019 in January. Next season, I'm hoping to play more one-day cricket for the Kardinya Lakes, and I am now working improving my batting skills and bowling techniques during the off-season.
Excellent. That's good to hear. Sport clearly offers you many opportunities. You're now not only a player across all 3 sports as mentioned, but also a state representative, a coach, a leader and a boundary umpire. Do you have a favourite role and why?
I love being able to give back to all these sports that I am involved with. I really enjoy coaching my younger brother's basketball team and doing boundary umpiring for my footy club.
Excellent. Matt, now I want to talk about your schedule. I follow you on social media and have done for a couple of years, and I get tired just thinking about the things that you do and all your posts on a daily basis. Can you give the audience a bit of an idea as to what your week looks like, your average week?
Yeah, don't mind much. I work as a kitchen and a Bethany Wern in Cottesloe, 20 hours per week, from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Most of my days on the rotating shift. I lead a very busy lifestyle now. On Mondays, work in the morning, 1 hour gym session. Tuesdays, work every second Tuesday in the morning, personal training session at the gym or beach training, integrated rugby training with Southern Lions Rugby Club. On Wednesdays, I have the day off from work, personal training session, working on my explosive running techniques and footy skills, plus also mentoring in life skills and budgeting session. I coach my brother's Division 2 basketball team at Les Moody. I also play in the men's D competition. Thursdays, work in the morning, 2-hour cooking lesson at home, footy training with Fremantle CBC, and also on Friday I work in the morning, about to start state football training at Steel Blue Oval next Friday. Work in the morning, play footy for Fremantle CBC in the afternoon, or boundary umpire for D grade at CBC if I'm not playing. Sundays, work every second in the morning. State for indoor cricket training with Western Wolves indoor cricket team in the morning. Away from sports, I also have a very busy social life now.
I've noticed.
I don't mind much of laughing, yeah? Anyway, let's move on, yeah?
Mate, we have a number of clubs and state sporting associations.
I haven't done that yet.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
I'll carry on,
I
yeah?
apologise.
Yep, also I'm the Perth Wildcats member and attend all of the games at the Perth Arena. Mum has organised a group of 15 of my mates, and we all attend the games together. I'm a Perth Glory member and attend all the games with my mate Matthew at NIB Stadium. We catch a train together and have dinner in the members' lounge at the games. Best quality food, yeah? I just become the West Coast Eagles member and I love watching the games at the new Perth Stadium, otherwise Optus Stadium. I attend regular dinner club nights with 8 of my good footy mates of mine. Mum organise dinner club events every 8 weeks for us to get together. Sorry, I just had a missed line. I also attend lots of club and team events throughout the season. Last one.
Last one.
Oh, sorry. Did I embarrass my mum here?
No, not at all.
No.
So we have a number of clubs and state sporting associations in the room today, obviously. What would be your advice to clubs or sports that are considering being more inclusive?
Oh man, and get involved and give more people with disabilities the opportunities to be involved in the sporting club. Being involved with sports have really changed my life. Before I joined the Fremantle CBC Football Club in 2010, I stayed home all the time playing video games and I didn't have any friends. Now my life is so busy and I have lots of mates and I get travel so much new places. I love being involved with sports. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, mate. Thank you again, mate. Really appreciate it. Cheers. So as you can see, I get tired of all the posts just realising what sort of schedule Kyron lives, which is fantastic, mate, and really proud of the work that you've achieved over the past few years. Thank you for sharing your story. Well, I'd like you guys to join with me in thanking all our guest presenters and panel members today, so thank you very much. There's still plenty of work to be done across our communities, no doubt about that. We've got 3 other forums coming up on the 18th of July, on the 3rd of October and the 12th of December. So the next one will be based around community. We've already locked in a couple of great guest presenters, including John Van Broxmere and also Peter Kenyon. Christy will send out an offer to you guys. So in appreciation of your attendance today, you will receive an offer in terms of a discount for the next forum. So we'd really love to have you back and be part of the conversation in terms of social inclusion and moving this and making sure that this is, as our guest presenter said, a movement. We've all got the power to move forward with this and really lead sport and recreation and ensure that sport and recreation is changing community as well. So on behalf of Inclusion Solutions and our entire team, I thank you once again for attending today. Please feel free to stick around and have a chat, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next time.